It's Talk to Me Tuesday. It's your girl Anja, and I'm here with somebody who is the true definition of Black excellence. She not only has one degree, she has two, and she's out here living her best NBA life. She knows exactly who she is, and she stands in her power. And I love her so much. So please help me welcome Alexis. How are
Thank
you?
you, thank you. I'm good. I'm glad you're having me here. I missed you, so I'm glad we're finally get to talk and catch up. This is exciting.
So I know you come from a family that loves sports. So is that where your love of sports came from as well?
I think so. Like as you know, I grew up with two older brothers, and so I kind of didn't have a choice but to like it. And then of course, as a child, my mom put me into different sports. You just kind of grow a liking for the competitiveness, the stories, the camaraderie, the family like lifestyle that comes with sports. So I guess you can say that.
What sports did you grow up playing?
I played basketball, soccer. I cheered for 1 year, but it wasn't really my thing. And then when I got into like high school, I ended up playing volleyball and running track as well.
Nice. So at what point in your life were you like, I'm gonna make a career out of sports?
It had to be in high school because I don't know if you guys did this, but we had a class where, like we had to write like a 5 year plan. And my teacher was like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what are your interests? What do you like to do outside of school? This and the third. Like they push, finding a job and a career that doesn't feel like work to you. And in high school, you can call it one dimensional, but I literally did not like anything else. I watched ESPN all day. I watched college basketball literally every day, all day. I'm on YouTube watching highlights. I was like that weird nerd stat girl who just was obsessed with the numbers of different sports, football. And then of course I played and it took up a lot of my life. So like because I played so much, I really didn't have time to explore any type of outside passions or interests. So it almost just became my life because I just played it so much. And then, luckily I actually do like it.
That's fantastic. So you did what after? So you had a 5 year plan. Did you stick to that 5 year plan or did it become something completely different?
It definitely it became something completely different, but like not too far off. So like when I was in high school, I also loved to write. I'm a creative writer by nature. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to be like at the time the next like Rachel Nichols. Like I wanted to be on ESPN as a sideline reporter, whether it be in the NBA, NFL, or NCAA. But when I went off to college, I quickly found out that the reporter life really wasn't for me. It's a different type of grind. It's a very thankless job. You don't get paid much. And so I transferred from Kentucky to Oklahoma State, where I figured out, well, I can do creative writing and tell stories on the TV side. And so then I ended up like my all-time goal was to be a 30 ESPN 30 for 30 writer and producer.
I love that show. Love it. Crazy
It's
about it.
phenomenal, right? Like
It's
the stories that
amazing.
they tell, the details that they use, just how deep they go and like they hit all these different caveats that like nobody else thinks about. And that's what I wanted to do. But quickly in my journalism career at Oklahoma State, in order to get to that side, you do kind of have to go through the gauntlet of being some type of reporter.
Right.
And in one of my classes, one of my professors basically told me straight up, he was like, because of my writing style, you're not going to make it in sports reporting. It's just not how it is. And then also I learned with reporting, with sports reporting, a lot of reporters like they do genuinely grow a care for athletes because of like it's just in their job and they spend a lot of time with them. But also there's also a sense of like violation sometimes that comes with sports reporting. And
Yeah.
like
It's
that wasn't
brutal.
in
It's
it is
brutal, right?
yes, it's very brutal, it's very cutthroat, it's very much I have a job to do, so forget anything that you're feeling. And like that wasn't me. I
Okay.
cared about the athlete as a person more than I actually cared about my job as a reporter.
Okay.
And so with that, it was a backhanded compliment, but then my professor was like, but you might do good in this area. And he knew my former boss at the Thunder and their like part-time internship. And so he kind of, threw me a bone with my resume in the office. And then long story short, I did 4 years part-time with the Thunder in their communications and PR office, and I fell in love with it.
Did
I
you
can
love
tell
it?
I did. You can tell the stories from from the inside, right? So you're
Okay.
not having to go through all these barriers. You your job literally is to care and protect them as people, which is what I wanted to do. I didn't want that whole grinded out violation of
Throw 'em under
space
the
style
bus
that it
for a
was.
good story.
Yeah, I didn't want any of that. And then whereas journalism, it's more of like an individual style career path. When you're working in communication and PR, you're literally working like as a team and with the organization. And there's something to being a part of something bigger than yourself, that genuinely, one, it attracts genuinely good people. And then that's something that allowed me to be myself rather than me trying to force something in a career path that just didn't come natural to me. So that's where I am now. Now I am in
Yes.
PR and communications.
So what's a day in the life look like? What does that mean? I mean, you probably do different things every day, but like walk me through it. You wake up and then what happens?
Okay, so there's two different types of days. We have a game day and then a non-game day. So a game day, I wake up at about, I probably get up at like 7:30 if I decide to sleep in, if I have a little time to kill.
Yeah.
I get up, I don't eat breakfast, unfortunately. I have to send referee assignments. So each game is assigned 3 different refs. Have to send those to our coaches. They like to see those before they go through shoot around. My assumption is, I guess refs make a difference in the game. I don't know. So I send those off to coaches, and once I get done with that, we have this thing that's called game notes, and it's like a huge booklet. It's like this thick, maybe like that thick, maybe a little smaller, of just stats, notes, storylines for your team, trends of the season, matchup history. So the one I did for our next game is against Dallas. It'll have like all these comparisons between Dallas and San Antonio. If there's any like cool nuggets that we've done this year, like this year we broke the all-time attendance record, and so we have an entire page dedicated to that. And then of course like your general stats of the game. So like player stats from their last 5 games, most I don't know, most points scored in a game, best field goal percentage we shot, things like that. Just a huge thick stack of like NBA notes that probably anyone can think of. And what a lot of people don't know about our job is that those little obscure stats that you see on like ESPN on TV, those come out of our office. So it's literally that compiled,
Everything.
yeah, everything that's in there. So I spent about 2 hours doing that on a game day. Actually, game day morning, it might take closer to an hour because we also do update them the night before. So that takes up the majority of that time. After that, I'll get dressed. Luckily, we're not dressing up at this point in the NBA right now. Everyone's super casual. We're in like quarter zips and sneakers.
That's what I like.
Yes, yes. Because the heels around the arena, no ma'am. How to get rid of it?
Oh my gosh, heels in a stadium or arena are like
It's a
a nightmare.
nightmare. Because there's so
Nightmare.
much walking and there's bleachers and like everything
And
is so far
step.
apart. Yes. I remember carrying like Uggs in my backpack. So as soon as that night was over, the
You're
shoes had to
like
come off.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, so then I'll get dressed and super easy. I usually try to keep my hair either like straight or braided up just because I just don't have the time to actually fold it every single morning, especially my natural hair. Um, get dressed, I'll head to the arena. I'll get to the arena about 9:30-ish. And from there, we also like set up the arena. So we set up press row, media row, all the monitors. We're printing out game notes. We're making, once the teams get there, we're handing out credentials. We're making sure the other team has all of their needs taken care of, on top of like the TV and production trucks, making sure that anything that they need from our end is information wise, they're good to go. And then from there, we're just kind of putting out fires until the game starts. So we have like open locker room where media can go talk to players for like 45 minutes. Pre-game press conferences with Coach Pop, which our VP handles that. And then obviously from there on, we're just kind of putting out fires literally until the game starts. We might have like a one-off hit where we promised a one-on-one or an interview with a certain player, or like if for the Alamo Dome game when ESPN came, they had a lot of pregame content that they want to hit, so we kind of organized that as well. And then after that, during the game, we chill for the most part. 90% of our work comes pregame press conferences, all of setup. We have a band of interns who do handle a lot of that groundwork for us. That helps a lot. And so literally during the game, we get paid to watch it.
Watch the game.
That's it. Watch the game, coming up with stats. Of course, putting out other fires. Like the NBA has so many rules about NBA setup, where photographers sit, where media can be sitting. The ones that are on the court, make sure like their feet aren't in like the tripping lanes. Like we do like do little things that the NBA requires of us.
Yeah.
But for the most part, an NBA game runs itself during the game. If an injury happens, of course, that's communicated through us. And then after that, the game ends. If we win, we'll have like a live on court hit with one of the players, which one of our other PR guys will handle that. Post game press conferences, we transcribe everything that's said to send out to media. And then
So how late after the game do you have to stay?
we usually get out. Our games are moved up from 7:30 to 7 this year, which is phenomenal. So we'll usually get out about 11:30.
Okay.
If it's a long game, say it goes in a double overtime, we might stay till midnight, but not terrible. It's late because you're still working 15 hours, but you get out by 11:30. You still have time to go out if you want to, or just to get home and get at least 6-7 hours of sleep if you need it.
That's perfect. So what do you do? You're full time. So what do you do off season? What does
All
that look
season,
like?
we prepare for the next season. It's like the grind doesn't stop.
It
No,
never
so
stops around here.
it doesn't stop. No. But what's cool is that like PR, a lot of people hear PR and they think it's just like media relations.
Yeah. Okay.
But also PR actually stands for public relations. So we also are in control of like our narrative, our messaging, things that's forward facing. If we have different projects coming up, what are speaking points? Marketing has a big job in like creating our brand. Our job in our job in retrospect is basically to protect that brand, to promote and protect that brand. So we're figuring out plans to one, promote everything we have going on. What's the best way to express these things and promote them, and also crisis communication. So whenever crises come up, that's also us to kind of manage all of that as well as prevent crises, which that's the biggest thing. The best crisis management tool is to actually prevent the crisis. So we're always planning for that as well in the future.
So how does your college education help you and prepare you for what you're doing now?
What's crazy is for me, it didn't on a large scale.
It did not,
So
you said?
no, did not. So
Okay.
my undergrad degree is in, of course, sports production because I want to do the 30 for 30. So it's on the TV side. Even after like they told me I wouldn't make it, I was already so far. You just finish the degree and you get out.
Yeah.
And then my master's degree is in sports communications, but a lot of the classes were actually in the business school and sports management. So I didn't actually do any coursework for what I'm doing now. It more so helped me to understand the business per se. So when I'm in conversations and when I'm meeting people, I understand the verbiage and whatnot. Of course, you learn how to write in AP style. You learn the different nuances that each team has. But as far as like actually prepping me, it really didn't. Maybe like I was around athletes all the time, and like you do have to work in sports, you do have to have a certain type of like persona or personality. And like it's really not for everybody. And I think
Yeah.
that's also a misconception, like anybody can do it. Um, it's a grind, it's not for everybody. So I guess it kind of did teach me one, how to operate in these spaces and how to, if my personality did need a little altering or tinkering, it does teach you how to be around people, how to be with obviously these high influential people. But also it does teach you like that middle ground as well. And really I think you need like a combination of both to actually succeed.
Yes. So I love sports. I love the sports industry, and
Right.
anybody who's like anywhere close to the sports, they understand that every team kind of has their own personality, kind of
Right.
their own culture for sure. One thing about the Spurs that I love is their front office is so freaking diverse. Holy moly, you guys have just about everybody sitting at that table. And I think that's amazing because that can't be said about every team out here.
You're not wrong.
Okay. So how does that affect you? Did you realize that when you went to the Spurs? Like, or did you know after coming in?
So I knew that the Spurs have always had a great dynamic in their front office, but I wasn't sure of like what made it so great. You hear about the Spurs and everybody knows their reputation. Everybody knows the success they've had. They don't have very many blunders on their brand or whatever. So like everybody knows it's great going in. Like when people talk about it, they're like, "Oh, it's a first class organization. Everything will be fine." But going in, you don't really know what that means, right? Or
Yeah.
you think it's just like, oh, it's just people
That
just talk
talk.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because also in sports, people do just talk a lot. Like you learn what's industry talking, what's not really quickly. So I
True.
didn't. And then like when I actually got in, the first thing I noticed is like when I was hired, there was also an influx of minority people that were hired kind of in my cohort, which to me, like that was a big deal. So when
It's
I'm coming into this
huge.
organization right by myself. There's people that I can relate with. The first thing that my boss did when he hired me, he connected me with this wonderful woman. Her name is Morgan Jones. She's the head of our diversity, equity, inclusion department. And then once I got connected with her, of course, you start like meeting other people throughout the organization, and you quickly realize like how diverse it is and honestly how intentional it is. Because in the NBA, you I equate the NBA with being a PWI, a predominantly white institution historically, right? Outside of the players. Um,
Absolutely.
and so like you have to be, in order to obtain like a high diversity rate number, like you have to be intentional about making sure you're hiring, yes, the highest qualified candidates, but making sure it's not just coming from that one pool. And so you'll learn quickly that like in every department there is somebody, no matter where it's at, even at the highest department, like our not RC, Brian Wright, our GM, it's a Black Jamaican man.
Literally, it's magical. Like if anybody like Googles their front, like it is like
Yes,
women, men, like Asian, Black, Hispanic.
yes.
It's just like so
There's so many.
amazing.
There's so many. Like literally in our department alone, um, we have a Mexican woman who is our director of corporate communications. You have me as a Black woman there. We just hired this one woman. Her name is Clarissa. She not Clarissa, yeah, Clarissa, a Hispanic woman. Like, and in literally every department, like you said, you have Asians. We have. I don't want to. I don't want to misname this, but is it when they're from India, like they're Indian, correct? I don't literally like every country and continent is probably represented somewhere. And what's good thing what you know about the Spurs is that like even like on their team side, they're one of the most international teams, in the league, whereas they've had more international players than probably most other teams. I don't have that number in front of me. I know it's somewhere written down.
It's all good.
Because we just played in Mexico City, so we got to like dig up those stats.
Oh yeah, you guys do have something with that because like
Yep.
I look at sports from an in-game host because like that's
Right.
what I
That's what
do.
you do.
And
Yeah.
you guys totally have like this girl who like I don't know if she still does it, but she's on the Mexican side of things and like she like oh it's so great. Like yes,
I'm trying to think who that would be. We have so many people.
still
It's
there, but like you guys have something like to do with Mexico or something, right?
we just have so many ties. I think that's what it
Yeah.
is. Like a lot of our former players have initiatives and like organizations and foundations in various different countries. And I think we had played in Mexico. That was our fourth or fifth game in Mexico City. So we have a really deep fan base. Plus, where we are in San Antonio, we are so close to like the Mexican border that our fan base literally just reaches. It just seeps all the way down into Mexico, and to a point where like we're actually trying to expand our fan base region to include Mexico. So like whenever we are putting out targeting ads and whenever we're communicating, we're trying to make sure we're hitting Mexico, we're hitting Austin, we're hitting all these different other areas around us because we are in a place in a pretty diverse regions where we can hit all of those. And Mexico for sure is one of the biggest places. We just partnered with I think an airline. It's called Aero Vivo Bus, which is like it's a Mexican airline, and they're like one
Oh,
of our official airlines. Like we're like
that's
deep
so cool. So
fast.
you are saying that basically you feel just comfortable in this organization. You never had to feel like you had to hide your blackness because
No.
sometimes who we are. It's
Right. You
almost
sometimes
like
you have
I don't want
to.
to be too.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing early on that was kind of impressed upon me is that that's what they encourage. Like they encourage your individuality in maintaining who you are, especially in our office. I feel like in communications, you do have to kind of be a little bit of aware of everything,
Of course.
especially on the social side, like that social consciousness side.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that we always talk about, being able to maintain your individuality. We do have open and honest conversations about race relations, social relations, the hard conversations around like, the whole sexuality thing in sports and just the different nuances that come up in conversations that are hard in a lot of other spaces. So it's something that we are definitely open with talking about, and it's something that's definitely pushed to find your comfortability in. So we're not walking around trying to hide who you are, or trying to like minimize yourself. But as a Black woman, sometimes you do find yourself doing that occasionally, just because like it's when you're in predominantly white spaces, sometimes you just feel like you have to in a way. So that is something that I am learning though, trying not to like while I feel comfortable with who I am, as in, like
Yeah,
I'm walking
absolutely.
around locked with locks right now. Um, like you know you have to, and of course, like I want to, but now it's kind of like unlearning the other behaviors that I had to like use, if like I had to use in other spaces.
Yeah, I'm sure that's such a hard thing to sometimes let go of because it's like we
Right.
were raised like this because of the society that we grew up in. And so it
Hmm.
is kind of like, I'm sure that feels kind of odd to be able to be like, I can breathe here. Like I can,
Right.
are you sure? Are you sure you're still going to like call me tomorrow
Right.
if I
You're
like
not gonna
let you know
fire
who I
me.
am?
Right. It really is. It's a breath of fresh air. It's comfortable, and it comes down to just being a good person and doing the right thing. And that's one of the things we always talk about in our office. As long as you're a good person and you do the right thing, you know, that right there will take you a long way at the end of the day, which I think is what the Spurs are known for, just doing the right thing.
So, how was your interview process? How did you find it? Because weren't you working at another NBA team before
Yeah.
coming here? So, like, how did that work? How did you know it was time to leave your other team and come here?
Right. So I started part-time with the Thunder, which that eventually turned into, it stayed part-time, and I went from like intern to associate, where they kind of change your title, they kind of up your responsibilities.
Mhm.
And I think it was during COVID. I was going to my fourth season. Of course, everything is slowing down. You're not making as much money. You know, I start talking to my other boss, who luckily she was a Black woman. So I think having a Black woman to report to was huge in this, because I did get to talk to her openly and honestly about, you know, what I was feeling, and my need to probably go ahead and move on. And she also knew, because I was an intern for 4 seasons at this point, and like that's you know, it's like, all right, now, like something's got to give, something has to give up. I need to make some money. I've graduated college. Like, I just
What
got a
are
new
we
car.
doing? What are we
Yes,
doing?
like help me, please help me get out of here. Um, and at the time, of course, there weren't a lot of job openings happening, and so actually we were kind of talking about me potentially taking another job in the Thunder's organization. You know, just as a once you have a job in sports, that's how you keep a job in sports. So like, I just needed to land the first job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but I prayed about it. I gave it to God, because I was like, one, I can't keep stressing myself, because I was like, my anxiety was through the roof. I'm like bleeding through my savings account. Again, this is like during COVID, so like nobody was hiring. You couldn't work. I was on unemployment. Um, but I just prayed about it, gave it to God. I just kind of like relaxed the rest of that summer. Went to summer league to make connections, because that's essentially how you get a job in sports. It's like who you know, which it does suck sometimes. You can be the most qualified and not know anybody, but you have to work your connections a little bit. So I
Mhm.
went to summer league. I made a bunch of connections, and then the Spurs job opened randomly. It was like I was in like in my hotel room, like I'm ready to go to this bar, but before I go take this drink,
Before we get litty, let me
yeah,
submit
hold
real
on real
quick.
quick. Yeah, it opened up, and one of my other bosses, Shelby, she sent it to me the first time, and she was like, "Hey, this is a good opportunity. You'll get to touch sports, like the sports or the basketball communications roles, corporate. It's a good team over there. I think you should check it out." And then of course I was like, you know, okay, I applied. She gave me like their emails to my current bosses now, sent off my resume, and it just went like cold. Mind you, summer league is in like July, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nobody responded to my email. Like,
What? That is not what I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna be like, they called you
no,
the next day and was like, get on a plane,
no,
let's go.
no, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Nobody responded to the email. Grant, like they were summer league, so you know, there's that. They probably just either they saw it, probably threw it to the side, or was like, all right, we'll handle it after summer league. But nobody responded. You apply on Teamwork online, and you're like you're checking it every day to see if it's moved. It hasn't moved. It just says application closed, applications processing, or like whatever the verbiage is.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
a couple months goes by, and then I get a call, and it had to be the end of August. I get a call about a month later, month and a half later, and they're like, "Hey, you know, it was my boss at the time. Are you so interested?" He laid it out flat. He was like, "You're not gonna be making a lot of money, but here's what we do. It's a full-time internship. Basically, our job is to get you a job whenever you're done with this full year." And in my head, I'm like, I mean, I've lived on scraps through college. What's one more year? I can do
Say
this.
less. Whatever. Let's go.
Right.
I
Exactly.
never had money anyways. Let's
Right.
do
Never
it.
had much anyway. Here we go. Let's do it. And at the time I was actually I was interviewing with Detroit as well. But something just felt right about the Spurs. And that's nothing against the Detroit because Josh, who I was talking to at Detroit, phenomenal. Like I love that whole PR group over there. They were nothing but supportive. Like once I told them that I was taking this job, but um, so of course he's like, you're not making a lot of money. Told me how much it was, y'all. It was $8 an hour. Like it was
What
because
year was this?
right, 2021. But minimum wage in Texas is so low. So like that was actually above minimum wage.
No
Minimum wage in
way.
Texas is so low. Texas is so behind in a lot of aspects. Um,
Okay.
but
So
also like you
$8 an
$8 an
hour.
hour, $8 an hour. Luckily, San Antonio has a lot of like low income based housing. And so I was able to come in and find a unit that like they couldn't charge you over a certain amount of rent, which was
Okay.
like right where I needed it. Like
Mm-hmm.
$8 an hour. I'm not living in somebody's basement. I'll deal with the other stuff that comes with it for a year. No big deal. So he told me that. And so I'm like, okay, like I can make it work. And plus, with this job, you also make overtime, which is time and a half. So, like, yes, I was making $8 an hour, but I was working so much overtime that, like, it kind of it fills in those gaps where it's like I wasn't hurting or anything like that.
Yes.
I went through that interview and it was seamless. Like, talked to somebody, he asked me if I was interested, and I was like, yes. We kind of talked about the role and the questions I had. And then my current VP, he called, and it was just a regular phone call conversation. He's talking to you like you're a person, right? He
Okay.
wants to know about your story. He wants to know why you're doing this, why you feel this way, why what are your passions outside of sports? Because he also wants to make sure that you have a life outside of the job because it's easy
Oh.
to get confined. It's easy to get
Mm-hmm.
like just consumed with the job here. And I think that was a selling point to me. He wanted to know me as a person, and he wanted to make sure that I still maintain an identity outside of work. And after
Yeah.
that, like a couple of days went by, and my current boss, he called me while, as a matter of fact, I was applying for another job in Stillwater because I'm like, all right, I do need a job. Like I need housing. Like I
I need more.
yeah, funds is getting low here. So I applied for it was like a temporary COVID position at Oklahoma State, and literally, I walked out of that interview. I'm getting in my car. I'm about to go turn this paperwork in to somebody who works in that department, and he calls me on my way, and he's like, "Hey, like, are you still interested?" And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I'll offer it to you right now. And he was like, you can take a few days to tell me yes or no. And I was like, absolutely not. I said, I'm about to go turn this application back in to tell them I'm good and I'll be in San Antonio. He was like, can you get here in 10 days? I was like, oof, in 10
That's
days,
a really short turnaround, but I'll be
oof,
there.
gas up the pacer, packed up my little two-door with everything that I needed. And just I threw a lot away. I was like, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna start over. And like that was it. So like it took a while to get to the interview, but once I got there and you talked to them, it moved quickly. Like they knew what they wanted. I guess I fit the bill, and of course I knew what I wanted as well. So yeah, and then here we are, a year and a
Here
half
we
later.
are. Oh my goodness. So you are probably so thankful that you weren't like, listen, $8 is gonna do nothing for me.
Right.
Why go there? Like, I need to just stay focused. So, what would you
Exactly.
say to anybody who's not interested in doing another darn internship or not interested in working for pennies? Like, what do you have to say? Like, what's your advice? Like, Jim.
Just if it's what you love to do, literally like Nike, like just do it. Because you're not gonna find too many jobs that don't feel like work. And especially if the environment is right, you just have to do it. It's for the way I looked at it, it was for a small season. You struggle for a year, you're getting your experience, and then you're getting out. Like life could be so much worse. Great, you should be in a great field, and you just have to take advantage of those moments. And it really wasn't as bad as what it sounds like, right? Like
You're like,
obviously LA,
it was like fun and exciting, and I learned a lot, and it was great
right,
at the end of the day.
right. Like LA obviously can't charge $8 an hour. Like New
Right.
York cannot do that. But like you take the market into account, you take the
Okay.
housing market into account, you take cost of living into account. And if you can do it, then like, just do it, especially if your dream's at the other side of it. Because otherwise you're gonna be living with a life of regret. And like when I look back at it, was it hard? Yes. Um, but I literally have no regrets whatsoever. Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be real, real, real hard.
What part of life isn't hard, right? You just gotta do it, man. I really hate this saying, and I really don't like the fact that like people a lot of times they excuse it by saying like, it's just the nature of the industry. Everybody goes through it because I hate that. Because I mean, there should be a time and place where we do make that change to make sure that no matter what job it is, it should be livable. Um, but I hate the saying, pull up your bootstraps. Sometimes you got to grind it out because no matter
Right.
what you do, it's going to be a grind somewhere.
Oh my goodness. It has been amazing talking to you. I'm just going to ask you, I know you just gave us so much wisdom, so many life gems, but for shout out to any Black female that's out here
Yes.
trying to break into the sports industry, especially like you said, when it gets really whitewashed and really
Yeah.
hard to see you in that space. What
Yeah.
advice do you have for like a younger, older, like whoever, Black female specifically,
Yeah.
like trying to get into those sports rooms? Last words
just
of wisdom for them.
just be yourself. At the end of the day, I think being a Black woman is so amazing. We have so many attributes that a lot of people don't have. There's something about the strength, and I hate using the word like strong Black woman, but there's something about our strength and our wisdom and like situations that we've grown up in that a lot of people don't have that we really can use to our benefit. So being yourself, obviously, and with that, being your awesome self, make your connections. Because one thing I did notice is that like when I stayed true to myself, people noticed me and they remembered me. So when it came time to making connections or interviewing for jobs or meeting people throughout the industry, they're like, "Oh, I remember you," which goes a long way. Plus, there's not a lot of Black women in the industry, so like you're gonna be remembered regardless. Just make sure, just make sure that first impression is chef's kiss. But just being yourself. It really comes down to like I know it can be whitewashed. I know it can be hard not to like kind of put yourself in a shell or a box. But at the end of the day, people can sniff out bullshit in this
Mhm.
industry. So remaining true to yourself and who you are will take you a lot farther, especially as a Black woman, than anything. Literally, there was like 3 or 4 different Black women that I also worked with, high and not even low, but like it was mostly like high up, and then of course, some that were like on a similar level that I am. So that no matter what we're going through, you always have a safe space and you feel safe to talk about any and everything. And they also support you in a different type of way. Like no matter what you're doing, another Black woman supporting you will always take you to another level regardless. Like don't try to like a lot of people like to like keep up with the Joneses or like that whole good old boy system. If you can find a community of people like yourself, and that's not to like segregate yourself, that's not to say don't make connections or have genuine relationships with like your other coworkers, but if you just can find a good community circle, that'll also make the transition that much easier and it'll push you a lot further.
I love it so much. Thank you so much. Do you want them to follow you anywhere? Are you good?
I mean, they can if they want to. My Instagram is alexis.wins with 2 S's. And I do kind of keep up with my journey on there. Like I'll post our different milestones and the things that we're doing with the team and the different activations. If you just want, like, if you're interested in that, but also, I mean, if you just want to follow me, I don't, it doesn't bother me either way. And then during the off season, I make like, of course, like sport related TikToks, content of like talking about my job and things like that. I think my TikTok is like your average underscore Mo. So that'll be, and my
Thank you.
DMs are always open to answer questions and help any way that I can.
I love that. Thank you so much, Alexis. Like, love you. Love that you shared so many life gems with us. All right, everybody, you've been watching Talk to Me Tuesday. It's your girl Anja. You can follow me at it's your girl underscore Anja. Once again, it's your girl underscore ANJA. And until next Tuesday, everybody, see you later. Bye.
Peace.